Yo, memo akwa abastron koso bio e de aba POG Media so mesre so be subscribe like video no share na ma afoforo enso ensa inkabi. Kindly click on the notification bell no so send be the any news be to platform so also we hunu de airco ene de airba dwumedie no e very interactive into the mesre say e wadwentwe no fa share under the comment section no my send be the any news be to platform no so also we hunu de airco ene de airba yenko yensem no na yem fansem dodo no embrewa ye bo edi era aye Martin aye Amidu aye aso ye him say na oye aye one of anasa oye aye past immediate past aye special prosecutor na say na dwumedie no eso ani pa na odi nsem dodo na ba betudwa efa OSP aye nnwuma ho yenko na enkonkutie aye nnwuma no ene hawa aye Dr. Zato edi nsem no ye de etudwa on behalf of aye Martin aye people yenko na yenkonkutie
again, poo-hooing or damning the same. But all of that, I want to try to situate it within what the Venerable Martin Amidu wrote about this deal. It's worth reading. But this is what he said. He sat back and everybody knows Martin Amidu. Attorney General is there, Office of Special Prosecutor is there, and it doesn't matter who you are, his writings and his research on corruption and corruption-related issues are par excellence. Nobody can accuse Martin Amidu of it. This is how he starts his writing. It's important that the decision of the government to abort the criminal trial by the entry of prosecution as a result of a negotiated settlement with the accused persons to recover only 60% of proceeds of the financial crimes committed by the accused persons instead of submitting the settlement agreement to the trial court or asking the accused to make offer of compensation or restitution and the subsequent risks of high corruption. That is the damage. That's the first paragraph of what Martin, he says it reeks of high corruption. He goes to study under different texts. One of them is conflict of interest and abuse of power. And this is what Martin Amidu says. On the dice says, the foregoing demonstrate the government represented, I will mention him, is tainted by conflict of interest with the Attorney General, again, further tainted with abuse of discretionary power under the 1992 Constitution by entering this null prosecution. And then I want to go to how he tries to end it. It's not that. This is what Martin further says. I've read and reread the written brief of the Attorney General several times, and have no doubt in my mind that it is the most dishonorable and dishonest brief intent for the public I've ever come across from my Attorney General in my life as a student at the Faculty of Law, Ghana School of Law, my entire career as a lawyer and a public officer over the decades. That is what Martin Amidu is saying. And this is how he concludes. Listen a lot. The government's decision to abort the trial in public court under the rubric of the exercise of prosecutorial discretion smacks of textbook example of governance of family, friends, and cronies, and also smell of high corruption. When you are faced with what the Attorney General was saying, is the same thing, and you are faced with what Godfrey Dam is saying, I would disregard both of them because they are both partisans on both sides. But when you have a former Attorney General, this man that everybody knows, agree or disagree with him, this is position, saying, rendering such a damning verdict on it, I agree with him and I want to go with that. Because it does a number of things to our body psyche. And I ask the very simple questions. Right now, there are so many people that this Attorney General or the government is prosecuting. One, will the Attorney General come out boldly to tell us that? And secondly, and also we have the oral report in front of him right now. He's going through it. Will the Attorney General come out and say, as a policy of this government, we are going to put on the table restitution, as you said. That any case we are investigating, no matter what it is, we are prepared and willing to also accept monetary restitution and let the people go. Because when you do that, then you clothe yourself and protect yourself from these accusations. Because you've just told everybody, look, this is part of our policy. Remember how the Interior Minister came out and said, as part of the policy on Galamsey, they will accept deportations. I always like when governments make their policies clear. In that case, you can criticize the policy, but you didn't know that this is what the government stands. Will the Attorney General say that? So that we can then ask ourselves, what happens? A lot of resources, time, energy, technology, and probably money was used to compile the oral report. And similarly, almost every Attorney General and prosecutor agency spends a lot of resources, state resources, money, time, energy, technology to investigate the case and carry the case to court. What happens if tomorrow another attorney general comes and all this hard work that this attorney general is doing also throws them inside a dustbin in the name of policy nolly prosecute? What happens to all the energy and all the effort that the young lawyers and some of the old lawyers have done in the attorney general's office? Those things become very difficult for us and very important for us to see as we continue to build a nation, as we continue to strengthen our governance, as we continue to strengthen our accountability measures. We need to get these policies clear so that people begin to then understand that the Attorney General is not only interested or does not only go to court to try to convict people, but that sometimes the Attorney General will also make public and put online this thing. My brother used a theory called principal agent theory. That was a very good element of it. Student of public policy and political science understands that theory very well. One of the things that is put in place is you realize that principals and agents, the agents also have more information than the principals. It's what leads to what we call information asymmetry. That because the agents have that information, sometimes they can use that information to cheat, to deceive the principal, and that is what seems to have been happening here. And I think the Jackson admit to that. There was something called liquidity, misuse of liquidity support, and we're also talking about padding the numbers. So when you begin to see all this, these are all part of what they falls under.
Those are the three causes.
Yes, again, so it falls under the rubric of what information asymmetry that agents use all the time to try to cheat, to deceive, or to get away with the principals. If we have now got somebody that we can prove, I mean, everybody's saying that there are other things in this whole thing that you say may be difficult to get a conviction. People have said that. But even here today, my brother and Joe Jackson have agreed that you can clearly establish that there was information asymmetry, that there was the padding of the numbers. We are told that we can clearly say that the money government gave you some support, and that misuse of support, liquidity support, Bank of Ghana gave you money. So at least, what I was saying that even if you are dropping all those other charges, you could then say, look, I will drop A, B, C, D. But this particular one that looks relatively easy to convict. I'm not saying it is easy. That I will maintain it. But the point is this: you didn't do that, you let it go. You let it go. Then I'm saying that is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that this Attorney General again has issued a record number of nolly prosecutions than almost any other Attorney General since 1992? I stand to be corrected. If I get any evidence, I will track that. More than that. One. Two. Almost all these nolly prosecutions given issued were to former in these high-ranking NDC members. Is it also a coincidence? And then third, you then begin to ask the question: how then do you say that, one, you are a Minister of Justice, that's just the case, but then it seems that only a particular number of people from a particular political party seems to be those getting the nolly prosecutors and going home, whilst a certain particular group of people from a different political party seems to be those that are under constant and serious investigation.
So you would have opted for prosecution?
No. I'm saying that I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a prosecutor, I've not seen this, but I'm saying that, one, clearly declare that this is the government's policy, that we campaign on operating, recover all loot. But right now, we want to modify it to say that we are prepared to accept operation, recover some loot, and leave some of the loot. Make that clear. Secondly, come back and say that, okay, the people that we are prosecuting now, those in the other political parties that are not aligned with me, we are also prepared that for them, we'll make them deals. That's so, for instance, if it's Chairman Wuntumi, we can make a deal. If it's Mustafa Havimid, we can make a deal. If it is the Boateng guy, the Signals guy, we can make a deal. My point is, when you make it like that, then everybody then knows that this is how the Attorney General's office is now operating. We now have a system where, yes, when you come and we think that is difficult, because I don't think there's any Attorney General or prosecutor anywhere in the world who takes a case to court and just believes that and just knows that I'm going to win it outright. No, every case has its own merits and every case is difficult. So let us know if there's a plan, and ultimately let us then understand that these knowledge prosecutors, you are open to offering them to anybody that can make a deal. Okay. Once you don't do that, it looks like you are weaponizing the knowledge prosecutor, one, to benefit your political friends and to punish your political opponents. We cannot live in the country like that.
That's a point you made about the assessment that some others have made, making the point that looking at the facts that they have seen, it would have been difficult for the Attorney General to reach or get any conviction in this particular case. And that's what he also referenced, that in this Page 1, that informed largely how the engagement and negotiation with this particular Unibank shareholders went or transpired, taking into consideration some of the references that I've just made in that detail I put on the screen as to how much even the receiver, as of last year, went to court to revise that said figure from when it started from 5.7 billion to the 2.8 billion. So this figure, in fact, beyond that, this 3.3 that the Attorney General mentions is even more than the 2.8 billion that the receiver went last year to the court to claim. But the Attorney General gives detail briefly, and I'll come to you, Professor Jampo, on what part that he's taking in going for this said amount. Take a listen.
A total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months. Of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months.
That's Attorney General.
Yo guso ahwe dwumadie no de mai dwumadie no guso a ekoso nti message so beje pray subscribe, like dwumadie and share them for friends so ensanka be kindly click on the notification bell no so send be the news bia eba beto platform no so awon so wo hunu die eko ene die ba dwumadie no very interactive into no message mo se odo adwen chebe shanda the comment section nim e dey my na dwumadie no so ayefe na yet waso no Professor Jampo nso je baton no kan nsama na chese enya agro yenko ne kokote nsama Professor Jampo edituja
Jampo, earlier when Joe Jackson referenced this particular exercise and how that also has influenced what we are talking about now. Dr. Zato referenced the politics around this entire cleanup exercise. Apart from that, you cannot also discount the cost of it as well and how that had influenced the outcome that we are seeing now, taking into consideration the decision by the Attorney General to now opt for a recovery to, as in his words, settle some of the debt that this entire process has incurred on us as a people. Now, the other reference is made to what the Attorney General could have done differently based on the facts that were before him. He says, looking at the facts before him, pursuing this could lead to not having any conviction. So in exercising discretion, he decided to now opt for this restitution. Let's take a listen to the Attorney General again.
The battery fell. Monies didn't go out to anybody. These were just book entries that were designed to make the books of Unibank look good. That is how come that in the criminal case, the charge of falsification of accounts was brought against them. So they did not loot the money. They did not give the money to anybody. They just made entries that were meant to give Bank of Ghana, the central bank, the impression that the bank was doing well. Okay. Then the exclusion of 0.3 billion relating to Unibank's placement with a SEC regulated, SEC related company currently in receivership, which is being pursued separately through the insolvency proceedings. After prolonged negotiations, the accused persons, by a letter dated 7th May 2025, made a proposal to settle the revised outstanding obligation of 3.3 billion Ghana cedis through a structured approach. The accused persons offered to pay 2 billion Ghana cedis in full and final settlement of the outstanding obligations through the following arrangements: 800 million worth of assets to be transferred directly to Unibank, which is in receivership, which will now make that available to the Bank of Ghana. And then their active cooperation and participation to assist the receiver to recover an additional 1.2 billion from the direct beneficiaries paid out on their instructions. Out of the above arrangements, the accused persons have provided landed properties valued at 824 million Ghana cedis to Unibank, that is, in receivership. Further, in other words, indirectly to the Bank of Ghana or the Republic of Ghana. Further, the accused persons will be responsible for any shortfall in the proceeds realized from the sale of the landed properties. A total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months. Although the preference would have been for me and my team for the accused person to settle the proposed amount in cash, immediate settlement in cash was not, from my sense of what transpired at the negotiations, a realistic possibility or a realistic option. In assessing the proposal submitted by the lawyers for the accused persons, I took into account the following factors. The receiver of Unibank acknowledged that the fictitious amounts totaling 2.1 billion did not result from cash outflows, but related to accounting entries that overstated the asset base of the bank, which predated Unibank's placement in official administration.
This is the path that the Attorney General is taking in recovering the said amount that he has settled on in this agreement with Unibank, taking into consideration how this case has evolved till now. Mr. Jampo.
Under President Mahama's reset agenda, you now have an Attorney General who is open, wants to come out in the public domain to address the press and to subject his activities to public scrutiny. I think it's something that is commendable. It is where AGs were not doing some of these things are gone. And so for me, to the extent that there is information being put out there to give all of us something to chew on and for us to scrutinize is something that is a feather in the cap of President Mahama's reset agenda, and it's important that we put this out there in the public domain so that it becomes a certain standard. Duty bearers must be accountable. Duty bearers are not 10 gods or 10 goddesses who must always be in their offices and pretend that they know it all and that they are not accountable to the public. Now, my whole view about this is to make the point again, I think it's been made, but quite forcefully, that the whole idea of the banking sector cleanup was predicated on somebody's vendetta. Now, if you conduct vindictive politics, it would always be quid nolle prosequas when power changes hands. If politics is not based on substance, if it is about today, I am in power, I will teach you a lesson. I mean, the commonsensical thing that you can think about when power changes hands is that people would also resort to some of these things to counterbalance what you may have done. That is not to legitimize it. I will go on to my main. But I think for starters, we must get it clear. If you get to power and you want to collapse other people's banks so that you flourish yours, and you do that inefficiency, the idea of efficiency is to use little to achieve more. You have a problem. We are told the problem was about 9 billion. And then
10 billion.
less than 10 billion, and you use 30.3 billion to solve that problem. What is wrong with your head? And
yo dwumadie no eguso a ekoso na ha ene de dwumadie no ebesi ede ama ade amamo na penifo koma se udi eya adwene de chi abehwe asuo franti no ensam no de dodo na ho but unsubscribe ya subscribe like dwumadie no share na ma foforo enso ensan ka be kindly click on the notification bell no so send be the news be at platform so I won't so no the air call and the air ba makramo.